My name is Anya Parampil. I'm a journalist with the Grayzone, and I'm here because we have been living through this escalation in the Ukraine war for almost a year now, and there has yet to be a meaningful action in the street on behalf of the U.S. public to say we oppose this war and that we're suffering from it, and that to stand up for the Ukrainian people is to call for an end to the hostilities, because our government is essentially throwing them into a meat grinder right now so that they can wage a proxy war against Russia. And our economy is suffering because at this point the sanctions that we're levying against the entire world are backfiring. We're sanctioning ourselves. And I'm sick and tired of particularly people participating in campus clubhouse politics and telling people, oh, you can't talk to that person, you can't be around this person. I'm tired of that, because at this point we are looking into the face of World War III, and I think that, if things escalated and the worst happened, we lived through something like a nuclear holocaust, I at least want to know that I was one of the people who said, all of that other shit doesn't matter. I'm going to come out and oppose the war, and also meet all of the people who want to oppose the war. Our job is to find out who is the U.S., who are the U.S. public? What do they think? How do they feel? And how can we meet all of them? Not one singular ideology can claim ownership of the anti-war movement. Not every single person in this country who's anti-war believes in the same ideology or would vote for the same person. So just starting with this banner, end the war, come together. It's the only option we have, because our only power is in numbers. These media outlets, these different various parties, none of us actually have power unless we come together.
I completely agree. Let me ask you about something that's, on top of everyone's minds. That's Seymour Hersh's new article on the Nord Stream pipelines. I mean, here you have one of the most esteemed, decorated journalists in American history saying that the United States was responsible for the destruction of the pipelines. And you think, that would cause some people in the West to actually question what's going on, And one of the things that Helga LaRouche, what she's called for, is that we need an investigation in the Bundestag, to actually get to the bottom of this and confirm what he's been saying, Do you think that would actually wake people up as to what's going on, and what kind of reaction do you think that would create?
Well, Seymour Hersh's piece should have been enough to wake people up and show everyone what's going on. I have faith in his reporting. As someone who's admired his work for years, interviewed him about his previous investigations. He's a serious investigative reporter, unlike anybody else really that exists right now. And because he has real sources in the U.S. government that are, and there are people in the U.S. government, I think, that are opposed to what's going on. And so he's able to expose the truth through those individuals who are outraged about something like the sabotage of Nord Stream. And I mean, yeah, if I were a German citizen, I would absolutely be calling on my government to investigate that crime, because it was committed against my people. If I were German, from their perspective, my people, my government, by my ally, by my friend. So if that's what your friend's doing to you, you got to get new friends.
Yeah, and I mean, he's talked about it on, I think, one of these German sites. He said, because he's criticized because he used an anonymous source. And, the way people use anonymous sources nowadays, you can't really count on them. But one point he made is that if you use them correctly and you know what you're doing, then it's fine, and you have to protect these kinds of people.
Definitely. Every investigative journalism, a lot of people call themselves investigative journalists now because they can do really good research, taking together articles and facts and put together a narrative debunking something. That's all very well and noble. I respect that kind of journalism, but real investigative journalism only can exist with independent sources. Because investigative journalism that's actually exposing what's going on in the halls of power means that someone inside that building needs to go forward with the truth to the journalist.
Right.
We can. So without that kind of confirmation, there's no way to have a story such as Seymour Hersh's piece. And the difference between what he and his source did and what the sources in the Washington Post do every day and what the Washington Post and the New York Times do every day is that Sy Hersh was exposing an abuse of power. He was the source was stepping forward to say that they'd observed something wrong and unjust that happened, and they were hurting the narrative of the establishment media and the government, the intelligence apparatus that controls this society. And so the only way to expose it is with a source that can also tell the truth about that. But he was actually hurting their narrative rather than drumming the beat of war, which is what all the other sources. So there's a difference. You can kind of evaluate it on that test. Does it serve the interests or the narrative of those in power, or does it detract from? And in his case, he was detracting from it.